Really, this is one of the stock stories of the day. Your stock is on fire now. It's up 65, 70% over the last 12 months. And the market is excited to hear you're going to pay a dividend again. When and how much?
Yeah, indeed, we had a pretty successful 2017 as the first year in our way to rebuild Commerzbank according to our strategy 4.0. We have been pretty successful there. We have overachieved on some of our targets, and that gives us the confidence that we want to resume dividend payments for 2018.
So in 2018, so by the end of the year, you'll resume dividend payments?
The dividend is formally decided by our AGM, so the Board of Management has to suggest a dividend, and then the AGM will decide finally spring next year.
What kind of payout ratio you're looking to give?
I guess it's a bit early to tell. The year has just started. But as I said before, there is a clear intention to resume dividend payments. Long term, I would assume, or midterm, the payout ratio would be somewhere between 30 to 40% of net results.
Your strategy, your boss Silke's strategy, has really been proven successful, and you added a ton of clients. It was really cranking up the numbers until this last quarter. It slowed almost to a stop. What happened with adding retail clients?
What we did, starting with the strategy, is adding about 640,000 net new clients to our PSPC segment and 5,100 to our corporate client segment. It was the exact goal that we achieved for 2017, which is 500,000 clients, and we are pretty optimistic and sure that we will achieve the 1 million goal after 2 years. With the net new customer acquisitions that we will have in 2018.
Is it expensive? I noticed the revenue in the retail segment was up 1.3%. Costs were up almost 10%. What's costing so much?
The net new customer acquisition indeed was successful. We generated about 150 million of additional revenues by the customers and the associated assets, which grew by 38 billion in 2017. Costs were mainly driven by investment in digitalization and IT, and to a certain extent by regulatory burdens from Poland.
Let's talk about the negative interest rate environment. How much is it costing you? I know it's hurting Commerzbank more than it's hurting most European banks. What are the figures that we're looking at?
Yeah, in simple terms, we stopped the burden for our corporate clients segment in adjusting the loan-to-deposit ratio very successfully. In the private client segment, with the stable deposits that we have, it's about 130 million drag for 2017.
When do you expect that to turn around? I mean, I was talking with some ECB board members over the last couple of days. It looks like they may end their quantitative easing net purchases of bonds in September, but they're still going to be in negative rates. When do you expect it to turn around?
On the more company-specific part, we expect the burden, which was, as I said, 130 for 2017, to be below 100 million in 2018 without any changes to the interest rate environment that we currently have. What do we see? What do we expect on the interest rate environment? I think we have seen a little bit of a movement on the longer end of the curve, and our expectation is that we will probably see no movement on the shorter end of the curve for 2018 and probably also for parts of 2019.
Do you expect any inflation? Are you causing any inflation? Is there any wage inflation going on at Commerzbank?
I think if you look around in Germany, including Commerz, you have seen some wage inflation, but in general the inflation in Germany is rather around the 1% mark, so not fully up to the at least the mark the ECB has given.
Let's talk a little bit about M&A. You discussed some of that in the press conference. I want to ask about the equity markets and commodities unit first. It's been the subject of, well, a lot of suitors have lined up for it. We know that Goldman Sachs, for example, is looking at it. What does the bidding look like to you?
No, in general, I'm not going to add to any rumors, speculations, and the likes. The plan is pretty much the same as it was announced end of 2016. We'll have applied for the necessary license. We're doing the necessary things to separate the unit, and then we'll bring it to the market. So there is not a lot more to say about that one.
Well, then we'll wait for those answers to come when the bids are in. As far as the larger bank, there was a lot of speculation last year. BNP Paribas, UniCredit, Cerberus getting into the mix with a purchase of a stake. Are you in talks with any of your shareholders about the possibility of a sale?
Let me put it this way. I think this consolidation discussion is a bit overhyped to a certain extent. Yes, in a general conceptually way, it seems to be clear that Europe in total is probably overbanked, in Germany as well. So I think the concept of consolidation is something that we have to look for in a strategic dimension. If you look at the more mundane things of what would it require to be happening now, let's be honest, combining two banks probably produces an even higher capital requirement than before, plus a higher global SIFI charge, and then you have a single resolution board that wants you to do it in such a fashion that you can be unzipping the new merged unit over a weekend, which is not necessarily very supportive for the economies of scale and other things that you would normally need to have a merger. That's why we believe cross-border mergers will come, but it's pretty a while away.
So it's still going to take some time for, I mean, we talk so much and hear so much about banking union in Europe. We're not quite there yet. When do you expect that?
I think that is basically the ECB's and the political agenda. I think there has been some progress over the last years, but judging from today, I would think it will still take a while.
By the way, speaking of politics, we finally had a government formation, or we're almost there with an agreement yesterday in Berlin. It made very little news. Has the lack of a permanent government affected your business at all here in Germany?
I would say, in general, Germany is a very stable country with currently also a great macroeconomic environment. So it has not really affected day-to-day processes. Yes, indeed, and I think that is indeed very good news. We have almost a new government. I think once the almost part is finished as well, and our hope is that that will be finished pretty soon, then we will have a fully set up government, and that will obviously be a positive movement.